But I guess the final question I have is I found this whole thing fascinating, and it makes me wonder, should every board do this?
Well, there's a lot of really interesting things about the making of this book. And one of them is that it was, not to get too technical, but the letters are copyrighted. They're the property of the letter writers.
Mm.
Not only that, everything that happens in the corporation room, like a boardroom in a
Is
corporation,
confidential.
is confidential. You sign a thing that says it is.
Right.
And so we had to ask, I personally had to ask every single letter writer and every estate of every letter writer for permission to sign something. By the way, during COVID, to sign something that gave us the release, the right to publish it. And that in and of itself, the fact that I did not get one single no
No.
reflects Brown, reflects the transparency and the, hey, what's the idea? This was Chris Paxson when I called her and said, I have a weird idea that I don't really know the end of. And she said, sure, go ahead. Sounds interesting. Let's see how it goes. That is unusual. The fact that, these are not, they're not all easy letters. So when people hopefully buy the book and read these letters, they're not all easy letters. And not everyone on every board, I think, would say, yeah, sure, put it. But the trust and the peer-to-peer equality and putting these letters from 1764 and reckoning with everything from John Brown's slave ownership to today's most recent protests. That's pretty amazing. But there's no question. Short answer: yes. Even the discussion of this would benefit every single corporation, every single board.
Right. Even if they don't publish it, having somebody write this letter of essentially on their way out the door, I think would be incredibly helpful. Lauren, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you for first of all, thank you for doing this work. The amount of work that went into this book, I can't even imagine, especially given what you just said about getting permissions. But I also think it creates this level of transparency that more boards need, because as you mentioned earlier on, there is a caricature of boards as, rich and white and out of touch and you name it, right? There's every criticism of boards of trustees. And what I think this shows is more of that human element inside the room. And I think that if boards were more transparent, perhaps in my mind, there would be less criticism, but I know that a lot of people disagree with me on that. So
Well,
we'll leave it
yeah,
at that.
I will add one more thing, which is that, again, the letters literally speak for themselves. And to the value discussion, there's just the every the 2 chapters are devoted to really the life-changing impact and formation of a grown-up identity in the undergraduate years. And another chapter that are simply every letter speaks to values and the transformation of humanity that Brown's education gave them. And so when you see it on the page, it's really not to say that Brown is this unique school and it's the only one that does it. It's to say that if you really asked your graduates and you really asked your fellows and trustees, what did the school do for you? You would probably get very similar answers upon reflection. And that in and of itself might be a very interesting exercise. And by the way, there's a whole chapter about criticism in this book. And it is the second to last chapter, and it's called One Last Thing Before I Go, because what do you know? People have a lot to say on their way out the door. And so again, it's not that the criticism isn't there. It's that it's taken in the concept of growth and values.